So welcome to the Node.js NAPI team meeting for the 23rd of March, 2020. We'll follow our usual agenda and we'll start it with, does anybody have any announcements they'd like to share? If not, I will bring up the Node.js repo, share it. There we go. And we can look at our issues tagged. I keep meaning to get around to set up the meeting issue generator, but I just haven't done that. Oops, and I'm on the wrong one, sorry. Okay. So do we need some additional async worker variants? I believe this one can now be closed because I landed this on last week. Sorry, Lugendicas, go ahead.
Yeah, we can close this.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for all the work on that, and PR closing. Okay. The SQLite port. I know, Jim, you've been traveling, so I don't know if you have an update, but.
Yeah, I'm continuing to work on this. With Nicola's help, I was able to create a debug environment in Xcode, and my feeling right now is, as I look at the code, that the issues are probably related to another contributor's code that eliminated the dependency on libuv for async operations. So I think if I cannot resolve it soon, I will back those changes out and just try to get it going on the libuv, and then make the async handling a separate, make it a separate PR, just so that we can get something going there.
Yeah, that makes sense to, because then, yeah, to then work on that as a piece you can sort of understand as a unit. Makes sense.
There is now a new issue on the Node SQLite repo. Apparently, there's an issue with Electron, and Electron is insisting on context awareness. And so this is becoming more important because we'll be able to implement the context awareness after we get the NAPI port done. So
you mean in SQLite?
Exactly.
Right, like context in terms of like on different threads or like worker threads?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
okay.
Anyway, continuing to work on that.
Okay, sounds good. The next things we have are burning down the list of issues raised by module owners. So are there any that people have to call out, for example, on Node add-on API? I think we should discuss. Actually, one I will throw out is that there was I think a comment on one of the issues about when we should do our next release. I guess because it's been a while. When was our last one? Let's take a look. That should be here. Node add-on API. Where do I find?
Yeah, release on the.
Right, there we go. So that has been, yeah, that has been quite a while. So I think it would make sense for us to do another release. It was basically commenting like there's lots of, you know, good changes. So can we make a new release?
Should we make this release the one where we drop the source implementation?
Yes.
So this is a major release.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So it's three. It's
yeah, I think we should make 3. Drop support for that, for those, and then just roll up all the other changes we've made.
Okay.
Does that make sense to everybody? I guess the other
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
it should do too is it should drop support for, like, explicitly say that it drops support for everything older than 10.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if we have like a support matrix somewhere, but we should definitely do that. Maybe release notes or change log. I don't even know if we have release notes and change log.
We do have, yeah, there's been a change log.
Oh, good. Okay.
But
so
we
then
should
this-
look to see if there's somewhere that we document that. Like, it's a little bit of an interesting thing. Like, I guess there seems to be consensus among at least some areas of the ecosystem that you should do a major when you're dropping release a version, like when you're dropping support for a version of Node.
Yeah.
But our you know, the model for this is almost that it only supports the LTS versions. If you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
But the active LTS.
Yeah, the LTS ones which are not end of life. So yeah,
Yeah.
that could be the active LTSs. Although that there's like active and maintenance too, so it might be confusing. Anyway, the ones which are not end of line, it should only support those. Is generally my feeling, is that that's at any one time. And it just feels a little odd to just do a major for that, especially since we don't really do majors. But I guess if anything, that might be the only time a major, or not the only time, but like maybe that is when a major actually makes sense.
Yep. Well, actually, dropping the source implementation is tantamount to dropping support for 8, because 8, not all versions of 8 have
Right.
have an API, right? So
Yep.
So yeah, and that is, so it's major if for no other reason than because we're dropping the source implementation.
Right.
And
I
so
was
the
just
fact that
thinking.
we're dropping
Sorry.
support. Yeah, no worries. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
Okay, so I was just thinking that, you know, we need not name our dropping support for 8 as the reason why it's major. We have 2 reasons, and we need not name both.
Yeah, I agreed. I'm just more like, in general, like does it make sense that every once a year we bump the major? Maybe it does. We should just plan for like when 14, whenever like when 10 goes out of service, maybe in the future we should just plan a major that aligns right up with that.
Right. Well, I mean,
or maybe some amount of time after, but
well, I mean, obviously, if we make absolutely no changes and everything continues to be hunky-dory, then there's no reason to bump the version just so, you know.
Right, except that we no longer test on the old one, so we don't really know if it works.
Oh, no. I mean that, okay, what I'm saying is, okay, so that's a change on our part if we stop testing, right?
Right.
But if we do absolutely nothing and things still work, then there's no reason. But that's obviously never going to happen, right? Because it's an ongoing project, and any little change we make, you know, if one of the Node.js versions, the core version, goes out of maintenance and becomes end of line, then for what little changes we wish to release, there will always be a discussion as to whether it should be major, and there will always be a very good and compelling reason to make it Semper major. Well, because, you know, one of the Node.js versions went end of line. So
I'm just more like,
it's just going to push us in that direction.
If we don't actively test it, then we're not really supporting it, right? Like, it's kind of like,
for sure.
So I'm more like, even though it might still work, I think it's more direct to actually say no, it's, you know, support is dropped because we're not testing.
I guess the overall picture is, if we make no more releases than the one that's out there, then we will have whatever release we have. But if we do, they're going to be major because one of the Node.js versions went end of line. So it's almost going to force our hand.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that, you know, for next when like 10 goes end of line, we should probably just schedule a release, and
yeah,
at the, you know, around the same time that we're shifting our testing, we should do the same.
Yes, that's a good plan. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so I think it sounds like we're agreed we should plan for a release.
Yeah, I think, do we have, I think we have the source code already dropped in master, right? No, we don't. I had a PR for dropping that. Oh, that's right, that's right. Yeah, we couldn't land that PR. Yes, I have an open PR for that, I think, but we couldn't land it because 8 was still in support.
Well, let's see here, the PRs.
Or not?
I don't know, let's take a look at the code.
Weird. I remember making a PR like that.
But where would the code have been? I don't think we have a source directory anymore.
No, maybe I deleted it because it was premature, but I wouldn't.
But I think it maybe landed here. Just let's take a look at closed.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, does yeah, I should pull from master, assuming my.
What would that have been called? It would have been called drop, maybe.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong branch. Yes, it's yes. We have no more source directory on master. Okay, sorry, I was looking at the wrong branch.
So here, maybe let's, while we're here, I'm going to create an issue which says next.
But we
Sorry, go ahead, Nicola.
we have the
Yep.
issue. We
Yeah,
already
yeah, it was PR 643. That's what it was. So we're good.
Right, so we want to do that. Is there anything else we need to do? There any the pull requests here? Let's look at the pull requests that say.
maybe this because it's only documentation stuff.
Yep, that one for sure can easily. Let's grab that one. Oops. Okay. Oops. Somehow I may have lost the. Is this gonna have remembered my stuff? No. Where is it? Did I lose it? I think I did. Okay. Well.
Yeah, we don't have any. As far as I can tell, my PR did not touch any file that would be like a supported version matrix. So I don't think we have one of those.
Okay, so we need to specifically say it drops. I guess would we just put that in the release notes then?
Actually, the change log that we create, where does the change log grab its content from? Because if it's anything related to the commit comments or to the commit messages, then the PR that removes the support says remove an API implementation v6 and v8.x support. So if the subject of the commit gets bundled into the changelog, then that will appear in the changelog with the release.
Okay.
So we will have the sort of indication that support was removed.
It seems like we may want to separately think a bit more about how we should be documenting that or not. But that's probably enough if it's in the changelog to start with, if we don't have it written down anywhere else. Unless people think
Yeah.
otherwise, or
Well, do our intro docs say anything about support? Oh, but
I don't really see it anywhere.
no.
Okay, so maybe we should. I'm thinking, yeah, the package, like in the package maintenance group, we've been working on some additional JSON which allows you to specify the intent. And with the intent here being we support active LTS versions. And that might be the way to, so maybe I'll do a PR to add that into the repo as a first step, and we can then talk about whether there's other things we should do too. But I think for the release, what you've got is probably good since it will show up in that.
Yeah, in the changelog.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Sorry. Here we go. Any of the other PRs? Let's see. This one, Kevin, do you think we should block on that, or?
I'd like to discuss it. I don't think it will be ready. I don't think we should block the release for it though, but I'd like to discuss the work in progress that I have on it.
Okay, let's come back to that.
Yep.
Let's see, I don't think any of these others are critical, are they?
No, that can land now, I think, because, well, actually, I'd have to check if instant data is everywhere. I think instant data is now available in 10, so this can land, but not urgently.
Although, is it worth checking that at least? Can you check if it's ready to land? And
well, it hasn't had approvals yet, so.
but I meant in terms of external requirements, right? Like.
Yeah, well, let's see if my internet is working.
Like, just I'm thinking we could put it on the list and take it off. Here, I'll just put it as a possible.
Okay. I didn't think committing would require internet access. What related? Oh, geez. Oh, right. Okay. Oof.
Okay, let's see. Any of the others?
Yeah, I think that
Oh,
I can end this.
Okay, this one.
Yeah.
Okay, so let us.
Okay, yes, we have instance data on 10, and we should have it on 12.
Okay, I think the rest of everything
We have
else
instance
is
data on 12. Yeah, I think
probably
we're good for instance data. I mean, assuming that we all agree that the implementation is good, we should be that there should be no
right.
upstream issues with landing it.
Okay, because it's just wrapping functionality that's in the
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it basically adds methods to env for retrieving the context.
Okay. Anything else? Okay.
Yes, internet's back. Yay!
See, I was gonna say, how are you talking to us
Yeah.
if the internet's down? But I guess you're on the phone.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that seems like things we should try and get it, try and land, and then do the release.
Yep.
Nicola, do you want to do this release?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I'll tag you with it then.
Do you want to put that on our milestone, Michael?
Yes. Although yeah, this is why I should really generate that, but here I will, I'm gonna create a new issue, next release. Here's that guy, and then we can set it. Okay, so that should now show up in there. Should it have? What did I do wrong?
I think it's down at the very bottom.
Oh, okay, maybe that's, yes, okay. I guess it is in order of,
But I think you
Okay.
could drag that wherever you want, Michael.
Can I?
There's a hamburger on the left,
This one?
I think. Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, that seemed to have done it.
Okay, good.
Okay, perfect. I didn't quite, this I think maybe we can close. Propose code and learn. Okay, I'm gonna say this. Close that one out. Okay, you learn something new every day. It's good to know you can move those around. This one, so because this one, right, we should move this above these guys. Oops. Come on. Actually, this one even. Did I not close that one? Yes, okay. Just want to try and, now is this going to, right. I thought I dragged these. Okay, sorry. So that's good. That one's in there. We talked there. Transferring the NAPI tutorials into the OpenJS Foundation, Jim.
Yeah, so I have a PR out there. I'll put a link in the chat. And let's see here. Okay, there we go. So this Kevin was able to land his tutorial examples. I've got a set of 3 that are in this PR. Then once these land, I can look at updating the text and figuring out how we're going to publish that.
Okay, so are these just copies from what you already had?
Correct. Yes. These are the ones that we used in the workshops. They were hosted on my provider, and I'm trying to get these into the foundation.
Yep. Right, because I'm just, if it's not new, I don't think they need as close a review.
Okay.
So these are basically putting them into, so these are just examples which were in, right, okay. So they're not new, and they build just like the other examples, right?
Exactly. They're the CI process, they pass the tests,
right, okay.
in the sense that they don't blow up when you try to run them.
Right, okay. So basically we have CI which tests those. Let me go
Yes.
back. So where are we? Sorry, I'm going to find the chat again. Go back there. Okay, so given that, I'm happy for them to say, let's do it. If other people want to take a look and get happy too. So basically the next step is just for people to take a look, LGTM, and then we'll get them landed.
Right,
okay.
right, okay.
So
Yeah,
if nobody comments in a few days, so go ahead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll land this by the end of the week.
Perfect. Anything else you want to bring up on that one?
No, then the next step is to figure out how I think we have some guidelines on how we're going to publish those. And so as time permits, I'll look at different options and then bring them up here for our weekly talk, for our weekly chat here.
Okay. Sounds good. I think so. Moving on to this next one, I don't think there's anything too new since last time. I see that was good that Sharp was landed 9 p.m. I think that just continues. We continue to see an upward trend, which is good. Oh, we're up to 600,000 now, so that's quite good.
Oh.
I think it was, yeah, it was around 3. So we've almost doubled since so the beginning of December, we've doubled from then till 600,000. So that's good. Hopefully,
We should
continue
check if
anything.
Node
Yeah,
SAS.
because many developers.
Sorry, go ahead, Nicola.
Yeah, what I noted is that when Node.js version 8 has been turned on live, developers started to use an API a lot.
Okay. Yeah, that would make sense. Is that I guess you can now cover all the LTSs more easily. So. Okay. Anything else people want to talk about on that one? If not, I think back to Kevin, you had an issue, or was it a pull request?
It is a PR.
Okay, right. So, and it was
The second one, the work in
okay.
progress.
Yep.
Yes. So this is the PR that I created for templating the context on the thread safe function. Now one of the things that is kind of lost though is some of the type safety on this the nappy thread safe function called JS. I'm taking that parameter directly from directly that's being passed into the new call and passing that directly to the nappy create thread safe function. And the reason that I was doing that is because in a different issue, there was a comment saying that any sort of wrapping for that call JS was a performance hit or whatever. So that's why I was just trying to pass that value directly as is without any sort of wrapping. But I don't think we could, if we don't have any wrapping, then I don't see us able to add any sort of type enhancements or anything like that. So that's sort of where I'm stuck. And you can sort of see how I'm using this in my test case, I guess, I think it's the second to last file. Yeah, here, there on line 87 or what, I can't see, but yeah, that's basically my, a lambda for my call.js CB. And that's the signature for the nappy call.js CB. And I'm passing that directly as is. But now that has the context as a void parameter. So it sort of removes the benefit of having the context templated. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
So basically this one says we're going to pass in the context type and we store it internally, but then when we use it, like there's no checks on that or anything, right?
Well, this creates, okay, I see. So this is the creation itself.
Correct. Right, so nappy create thread safe function expects the callback to have two void parameters for the context and the data.
That's right.
And unless we do a wrapping, I don't see a way to provide any type
right, yeah.
type
Okay,
convenience.
Okay.
And one of the comments on the reason why we wanted to remove the wrapping is because of performance. So
you can pass them as template parameters, right? Like for nappy function new, we were able to avoid wrapping by passing template parameters, were we not? Oh no, I'm sorry. No, we were able to avoid heap allocation by passing by using template, but not the actual. Yeah, not the actual. Right.
Right.
I mean, what you're saying is when you get the callback.
Basically, the signature of the callback function has to match the signature inside core, because
Right.
Otherwise you have to create the function that calls the function, and at that point you have a performance hit. That's the problem.
Right.
So
right, okay, because otherwise we have to wrap it and call it right.
Yeah.
And I think it was fine to do that wrapping for the finalizer because it's only done once. But now for call.js, it may not be, it's not really.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, wow, and so that was a significant performance hit. That's interesting because we take the same performance hit for like the same thing happens with function new. There is a wrap, right? So and the same thing is true for like class instances. There is always a wrap, and so you know, one thing you might, well, I don't know if you.
But new is like you're only gonna you create it once likely or less frequently versus
no.
When I
When I mean function new, what I mean is that that we create a function that calls, like, so an API calls that function and we call this function every time there's a call coming in from JavaScript.
Oh yeah,
So,
you mean internally in an API itself we have a
yeah,
wrapper.
what is that called? I think it's called thunking. So we do thunk
Right.
in
But-
Node.js API.
But this would double that probably.
No, because I mean it would thunk no more than what we already do, right? Because this would put a function between core and the function passed by the user, just as we put a function between core and the function passed by the user for everything that we do in Node.js
Right,
API.
but this would be another, so you'd have a wrapper of a wrapper.
No, you wouldn't, right? Because the function coming in from the user is the convenient function that we're trying to provide, right? We put a wrapper around it. The signature of the wrapper matches whatever core expects. And then whenever core calls, convert or call JS, it calls our function and we call the convenient user function. So it's an equal number of wraps as a plain JavaScript function call, is what I'm saying.
I'm not quite understanding, like, we wrapper everything across an API, right?
Well, okay. Let's consider core a closed system now, right? Because yes, of course. I mean, we convert the V8
Right.
V8 call signature to an NAPI
Right.
call signature.
Yeah.
But in Node add-on API, we convert the NAPI call signature to a Node add-on API call signature, right? And that takes
Yeah,
a wrap,
okay, right.
right? So in this case, the call JS for thread safe function is originated by an API. This is our own call signature. We don't wrap this again.
Right, okay, I
inside
see what you're
core,
saying.
right?
And there's a wrapping when you call the other way.
What other way?
Well, like when you're making a call from an API, from Node add-on API, we have a wrapper conversion.
From Node add-on API into where?
Well, like back into, if you're calling back to JavaScript,
If you're
we convert from an external signature to a Node add-on API to an API signature, which then does the conversion
I'm not following.
into...
This is about calls coming from JavaScript to native, right? That's the plain function call, right? Like you create a function with function new, and when that function gets called,
Right.
First the V8 function gets called, then that gets converted to a core API call, then that gets converted to a Node add-on API call, right? And then that gets well, no, that doesn't. That's the final step. Okay, but when you're talking about the thread safe functions, a marshaller, right, is called JS, then the call to the marshaller originates from core and API, right?
Okay.
And so then core and API calls a function with the signature that we see on line 82, right? The nappy end void, the one with the two void pointers in thread safe function ex.cc. Yep. So it calls a function of that signature, right? And what Kevin is saying is that if we want to change the signature, right now he's not wrapping it. He's passing the function unmodified into core, right? Mm-hmm. But that's not true for regular functions, right? Regular functions, we wrap them before we pass them into core, right? We convert the signature that we expect for function new, that callable. We wrap that with a function that we can pass into core, but we don't wrap this, right? So this, as it stands right now, actually has less wrapping than the regular functions that you create using function new. So that's why I am confused as to why the performance impact of wrapping this function is any greater than the performance impact of wrapping any plain old JavaScript function that we already wrap.
I see. This was in relation to a comment on an issue that we posted on for issue number 59.
What was the last digit? You blanked out on the last digit. 59 what? Oh, no. Please tell me you're still there, Kevin.
We'll give him a second to see if he comes back.
Ooh, that's such a cliffhanger.
Hello, can we hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, please give me the
Yes,
last
okay.
digit.
594.
594, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so which comment was that?
The second to last. And it's talking about removing.
That was mine. What? Issue 594, second last comment? That's my comment.
Yeah.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Oh, holy cow.
So it's a performance hit currently because the non-blocking call and blocking call, we have that ability to pass per call callbacks. So that's one thing. Yes.
Oh, okay,
So
okay. Right.
Yeah,
That is an
so
additional indirection.
Yeah, so we're removing that, and now I'm thinking, will with the call.js, if we just do this normal wrapping now, that doesn't do the per call special callback, but is just a wrapper just for the static cast of the context type, was that still considered a performance hit? Because
No. Okay.
that call.js is going to be called every single time somebody does a blocking call. So our wrapper would be called multiple times. That's the overall point.
Basically, okay, so the PR as it stands now sort of swings in the opposite direction, right? It has fewer wraps than what Node.js on API already does, right? Whereas the comment that I made here referred to dropping the ability to pass in a function pointer so that you can have a different function for each call.js, because that's an additional indirection, right? Because you have to retrieve the function out of the data and then call it, right? So that functionality we can drop because core doesn't have that functionality either. It would have been a nice value provided, but not at the performance cost that this is, right?
But when you say drop, it's already in, right? Is it, or is it?
Yeah. No, I mean drop in terms of not implement that part in this new version of thread safe function that Kevin is working on. That's what I mean by drop.
Okay.
I don't mean drop it from the original thread safe function class because that would be major and generally not good.
Yeah.
So
okay.
So yeah. Okay, I understand now. So basically, my comment was about dropping the ability to pass a different function every time you call JS. But the call.js function itself, I think, will have no greater performance penalty if wrapped as we wrap everything else in Node.js on API. So yes, it will have a performance penalty. It's not for free, granted, but it is no more than what we already do.
Perfect. Okay, then that pretty much solves the question that I had. So I can continue on that then. Thanks.
Yep. Yeah.
And how much reuse versus non-reuse is there in the EX version?
It's pretty much, it's very similar. The one thing though is that I removed all of the new overloads, because with the non-EX, there was like the optional async resource or the optional finalizer and all of that stuff. So removing all of those extraneous ones actually makes it very simple, I think. It's very similar. And I guess another thing is, I don't know if I should make this one inherit the old thread safe function, or should they just be completely orthogonal?
That's kind of where I was going. Like, how much is it? Is it like, can we have one where it's pretty much we share all the code, but you know, we now have the you know, an extension that has the context type safety, or does it end up having to be two different things?
Well, I think the inheritance would have to be private because some of the new overloads in the original thread safe function would not work for this thread safe, this EX one. I can play around with it.
And why would we not want those overload? Like, why is it a good thing not to have those?
I was having issues with grabbing the context parameter with that new overload when it wasn't provided. But it may have been something that I was doing incorrectly. Since we're trying to make the context the type, you know, since we're trying to template the context, I was not able to have a new function that doesn't have a context, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess we should have made like a default equals void or something when we did.
But is there any reason we couldn't add that? Like, is that breaking to people?
I'll have to play around with it some
Okay.
more. Maybe I was just like not doing something correctly, but yeah, I can check that out again.
I'm just more like, the more we can make it just a little bit of, you know, share the code, the less there is to maintain, the closer they'll stay together. And
yeah, that makes sense. I think like since you're deeply involved with this, Kevin, I think the code reuse and refactoring such that you minimize the code is probably going to become evident once you have the implementation finalized, right?
Right. Okay. Okay, that makes sense. All right, that is then all that I had to discuss.
okay. Any other issues or like either core or Node.js API that people want to have us discuss? I don't see anything too new in the issues here. Those issues, let me look. This one, okay, so this we just need to review and get landed. Let's look in. No.
Yeah, NAPI 6, we're gonna have to change the version matrix in core because it doesn't yet feature an API 6. But that's coming up after, I think, after we have one more last sort of release of version 10. Sorry, just
okay.
blanking out.
Okay. Choice. I don't know if we want to. I think Lojindikas, you'd open this issue just in terms of recommendation of when to use one versus the other.
Yeah. Since I mentioned this issue that I didn't find any very top item on the Google search, so I just opened up the issue to like maybe we can allocate our dog on the Node.js level. I mean, I don't know the add-on API yet versus the name.
Just looking at the, I mean, because I added in there the link that we do have, which just says There are three options, API NAND or direct use. And it says, unless there's a need for direct access to functionality, which is not exposed, use an API.
I think the statement here is very sufficient, and maybe we just copy paste on the Node API at the README, or
Okay.
just make this statement heads up.
Okay. So discussion. Okay, so that makes sense. Let's see, any other issues? We got 3 minutes left. I don't think we have time to really dive into any others. Are there any, is like there any other one that anybody would want to talk about this week? If not, I'd say let's call it for this week and we'll talk to everybody next time.
All right.
All
Talk
right.
to you later.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks. Bye. Thanks for coming.
Ciao.
Bye.